Hello and welcome to episode 79 of the Virtual Velo Podcast with my co-host Chris Schwenker and me, Emma Martin. The Virtual Velo Podcast, the show that bridges the gap between the athlete and avatar, keeping it real in the world of cycling esports, and that's exactly what we're going to do today, because this is one of my favourite uses of the podcast, when we get to chat to the racers themselves, and we have one of the elite riders from the peloton joining us today, and I am seriously looking forward to finding out a little bit more about the personality behind this particular avatar. Chris, we have the wonderful Tiffany Penner on the show.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to learning more about Tiffany also. But before that, I need to ask you, Emma, how are you holding up? You're in the midst of the MyWoods Championships now. Your 5-hour marathon sessions behind the mic. How's it going?
Oh, we're all good at the moment. There are snacks in the studio. I had to reach for them during the men's race today. A little low sugar. Our riders are reaching for hydration and fuel. Well, I took a little bit of fuel on board during the men's race today. Sugar lull. Needed to get the timing right, though, for the finish, because that was fast and furious today. And the old eyes had to work to follow it.
It's quite an experience when you bonk during a broadcast, Emma. I hope that doesn't happen to you again. But speaking of the racing, tell me about it. It seems like it's been pretty hotly contested.
Oh,
and the rider numbers too are way up there.
Yeah, well, we are stage 3 complete today of the 8-day stage race. 7 stages over those 8 days. There is one rest day, but it does fall on Sunday for those seriously committed Sunday Race Club riders. So no rest for the commentary team, but there is indeed a rest scheduled for the riders. But the first 3 days, Chris, have been absolutely fantastic, both the women's peloton and the men's peloton. Bearing in mind there are 6 categories racing in each. The blanket finishes, the sprint finishes that have come day after day. It's been scheduled and planned pretty much like think Paris-Nice on the road. Think a short 1-week stage race where those first days the GC contenders have to sit in the pack, they have to protect and defend because the big mountain stages where they're going to come to the fore, well, they start tomorrow because we are heading to Zurich in the women's and men's. But sprint after sprint after sprint has been going on over the last 3 days, and maybe some of the riders that we wouldn't have expected to be at the front of the race are.
I'm also looking forward to the way it's going to play out with these mountain stages coming up. But I think it's about time that we get to Tiffany, because I'm equally as excited to learn more about her.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And welcome to the Virtual Velo Podcast, the Canadian National Esports Champion, Tiffany Penner. Welcome, Tiffany. So, Tiffany, speaking of those MyWoods Championships, given that, well, Chris did bring it up, you're a regular Sunday Race Club rider, but we haven't seen you on the start line of the championships. 8 days of racing in August is indeed a significant commitment. Is it safe to assume life or work got in the way, or was it a deliberate choice?
So it was actually a deliberate choice. I'm using this time to take a break from racing, just to refocus and do what I need to do in order to prepare for the semifinals. And yeah, that's just about it. It is a huge commitment. 2 a.m, because the race is like super early for us here in the Americas, but it would have been a lot.
So bigger, longer range goals on the horizon, which I know we will get to very, very shortly. But what is life like for the Canadian National Esports Champ? Tell us a little bit about, where you live, what you do. Who is Tiffany Penner?
Yeah, okay. So I live in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. It's kind of actually in the center of Canada. And I'm a PhD student. I am in my final year of my doctorate in microbiology. Yeah, when I'm not in school, I'm pretty much training either on my bike or in the gym. And I also work at an organic vegetable farm. So I love that. I'm super busy all the time.
That does sound like fun. We have quite a few of those farms out here where I live also. So we're always intrigued by how the athletes that we interview end up here in front of us as cycling esports athletes. So first of all, I want to know, did you play any other sports growing up? And how did you eventually evolve into cycling? And then was there something or someone that nudged you into cycling esports?
So in high school, I was competitive in track and cross country running. And then I also did a lot of soccer or football. And then when I got to university, I did a lot of resistance training. And I also did Muay Thai, a martial arts for my cardio because I thought it was a good balance. And like, I never really had a goal with resistance training, but it's just like to keep healthy. And then when the pandemic came, all the gyms closed, right? So I tried to keep up with my resistance training as best I could at home. My parents have a farm, and so what I did was like I got like materials from there, like cinder blocks, and I made my own like squat rack, and it was it was a little bit crazy, but I did what I could. And then I was like running outside because I did that in high school, but that was very cold at -40. And I realized I couldn't do it every day. And so I thought back to a spin class I had done at the university. I really enjoyed it. So I bought an inexpensive bike, just like a spin bike. And I wore the resistance out on that. And then like while I was riding this bike, I found like GCN on YouTube and they mentioned Zwift. And all these workouts that Zwift had. And so when I wore the bike out, I knew I needed a smart trainer. So I got a smart trainer, and then I started Zwifting in like March of 2022. And I only did workouts because I did not realize that Zwift had these races. So in September of that year, that was when I did my first Zwift race. And yeah, since then, like I was on some teams, and I really love racing, but more so like the workouts, like the progress, actually the journey. And then, yeah, I guess like I'm on cryo now, and that's feels like my home. And yeah, I found like my whoosh like last year. So it's been a lot, and I absolutely love training and racing, all of that.
Well, you certainly have made tremendous strides in a very short period of time. And of course, Emma and I had the pleasure of meeting you in Abu Dhabi for the World Championships last year. And I was always marveled at the fact that you had like a perpetual smile on your face. I could tell that you were really loving the experience. Can you tell me, what was the experience like for you there on and off the bike?
Well, first of all, like, I didn't really know if I was going to go to Abu Dhabi, because I got 21st. And I found out 2 weeks before I was going. And it was just like, whoa, like now I've got to prepare. Like we had like worked through like ahead of time, the training plan, like everything was like set in place, but just like mentally, like you've got to get there and all this stuff. But I think it was an overall a wonderful experience. Like the My Whoosh people, they took great care of the athletes. Like everything was so well organized, from like getting picked up at the airport to arranging like the events, like letting the athletes see the stage ahead of time, making sure that all the equipment and everything was in good working order, making sure that the athletes were okay, all of that. And I think like being at Worlds, getting to meet everyone was good. And it was a little nerve-wracking being on stage and performing for like an actual live audience. But overall, it was an excellent experience.
I guess that's also pretty far from lifting cinder blocks in the farm fields and things like that. It's pretty amazing. Safe to say that it is the top of your list of achievements?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, I'm so sorry. As the professor in the room, Chris, the PhD will be at the top of her list of achievements.
I would assume so, but she hasn't achieved that yet. So
Oh, that's true. There's an
we'll
examination and a defence coming in the future. Well, Tiffany, Chris is really right. And, going from 2022 doing workouts on Zwift to racing in the World Championships and representing your country in 2024, with no cycling background until you got to that point in 2022, really. What a phenomenal achievement. Has it taken you by surprise?
A little bit, maybe a lot. It's sometimes hard for me to think like in the big picture in the future, but like when you're in the moment, it doesn't always necessarily feel like it's a huge accomplishment because like you're so focused on it. But yeah, a lot of like I would not be where I am today without a coach. So like and all the other people that have supported me because it is a team effort.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And sometimes I think we do forget that, particularly because when we see an avatar, we do really think about an individual and we don't really think about the support crew and, as you mentioned, the everybody else around you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you took the national title back in February, wasn't it, for 2025 for this year? And in doing so, you've qualified for the semi-finals under the Canadian qualification process for the World Championships again this year. So those semi-finals are coming up in October. We're really interested in getting your thoughts on the format for this year's events because it is a little bit different to last year. But before we do, let me just give a really quick breakdown for anyone who isn't aware of what's coming up in that World Championships this year. And do note, Chris, I saw your article on the Escape Collective today. People can, of course, go there for an insightful read and get up to speed on the format themselves. But there are 3 stages this year, like there were 3 stages last year, but they are quite different. There's the Sprinter's Paradise, which is stage number 1, where it is an 8 laps of a 1.5 kilometre rolling circuit. So a total of 12K in that first stage, with riders scoring points, sprint points at the end of each lap. So lots of opportunities for points in that first stage, with, of course, the final being double points to the sprint line. Stage 2, the Puncher's Playground. Now, I think this is going to be interesting as well because 12 kilometres with around 290 metres of elevation. There are 2 sprint segments, 2 climb segments in the finish line. So another lot of points up for grabs because it is a points accumulation that will decide the World Championships. And then that mountain stage, stage 3, which really is a little bit different. So it really is an elimination stage with a climb that gets steeper and steeper, but riders being given a 2-minute head start over the chaser and scoring points for however long they stay clear of it. So 1 point for every 5 seconds they stay ahead of the chaser. It's going to be a really interesting format this year and a little bit different.
Whenever I hear people discussing the format, I just think to myself, it sounds really hard. Are you excited for this, Tiffany?
Yes, I am so pumped. I think it's going to be fantastic. So tough, like such a good challenge. The first stage, I think, is similar to the Glasgow crit circuit on Zwift, but about half the length. It will be very fast, I think, and a lot less recovery time for the little, well, I'm not sure if they're, kind of large climbs. And then like sprint right after. So I think it'll be very fast. I'm not sure what will happen, of course, for any of these stages. And then the second stage, I think it'll be tough again. The rollers, especially, I think there's a 10% gradient maxing out on the rollers. And then there's 2 sprints in there. And then it kind of ends on a climb and then a downhill. But that climb, I think, will be the most decisive part of that course. And it's interesting that on the top of the climb, there's like a flat finish and then downhill. But I don't know. And the last stage, I think it's great to try something new. I'm not sure how that's going to go either, but I think it'll be fun.
Well, I have to say, I'm loving the fact you've already done your homework, because we are only in August and you can tell me the profiles where the flat plateaus are, which courses, like what course you've ridden before. That is absolutely brilliant. But we laugh and joke about it a little bit, but it is exactly what you need to be doing, isn't it? Those people who are looking for that World Championship qualification, the semi-finals is on the same 3 courses that the final will be on. So you do get an opportunity to race it in the semis, and then should you progress, you've got from October the 3rd to November the 15th to finesse.
Yeah, I like to be prepared for everything.
Yeah. You also strike me as someone who really enjoys the process. You talked about that love of training and those training plans that you found first when you discovered cycling, and the long hours, the intense training, the hard work it takes to be successful. We see you a lot on your social media posting not racing footage, but training footage. So you obviously really enjoy that. How would you describe your training plan and the systems that you target?
Well, I spend 2 days of the week in the gym focusing on plyometrics. So that's where you see me doing like a whole bunch of different like box jumps and all these exercises that are working on the rate of producing force. It's so fun. And then the other, I don't know, approximately 5 to 6 days of the week, I'm on my bike. And yeah, like we do, like there's a good mix. It depends on like what we're focused on. There's always some like zone 2/recovery rides. And right now we're really focused on the anaerobic stuff. So anaerobic durability and repeatability, just getting ready in all the red zones.
That repeatability is going to be so crucial, isn't it, when it comes to that semi-final and the speed and pace of recovery in between. Are there any specific changes you're thinking about making, or have you made, to your training as you prepare for those semis?
I think the biggest thing is just not necessarily in the training plan, the physical side. Mentally, just taking a break from racing for a little bit. And I just want to be as sharp as I can, training wise. And then in preparation for semifinals right now, I think the mental component is so important and often not talked about as much as should be. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so those terms that I heard you say there, repeatability and durability, they sound very familiar. So I assume that you're an Alex coached athlete?
Yes, Alex Coe is my coach. Yes.
Yeah, it's important for us to mention that. Emma mentioned the social media posts of you doing those insane workouts that you do. Your profile is that of an athlete who epitomizes power. You're showcasing the plyometrics, you're showcasing the weight workouts, and also in the way you race. And there has been a lot of meaningful discussion following the Tour de France Femmes Avec Swift around rider weight. I'm going to try to approach this issue as sensitively as possible, knowing that I don't have the one distinguishing trait that allows me to speak empathetically on this topic. But as an elite female athlete, how do you approach weight?
Good question, Chris. It's tough because as an athlete, you know that you need to fuel in order to perform well on the bike. And at the same time, often it's, if you're lighter, you go faster up the climbs. That's just how it is. And like, I don't know, it's like a struggle because if you don't eat enough, you're not going to do as well on the bike, and that will lead to like decreased motivation and performance all around, and mental health. And then you see this and you're like, I need to eat more, and so you do, and then you see the scale going up again. It's a constant cycle. It's always at the back of your mind. And I think there needs to be more resources for athletes to deal with this mentally, because it is a lot, especially for SRC in category 1, where you're weighing in every single Sunday. Yeah, it's it's just a lot. It's another thing that you have to deal with. It's part of the sport, but it's tough.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. And everybody that we ask that sits in that seat struggles with the same things as you do, certainly. And the fact that our sport relies very heavily on weigh-ins makes it front and center for you to hop on a scale. And it becomes somewhat of even like a traumatic experience for a lot of people. So considering that belief system that you have in relation to weigh-ins, which is such a controversial topic in our sport, how do you approach the weigh-ins then with regards to how you handle hydration and fueling?
I it's good because Alex has my food plan for me, and I know that I need to eat what's on there. That helps me to it's not always that I do this, but it helps me to stay closer to what I know that I need to eat in order so I can race well. Hydration wise, like in the summer, it's really hard because I work at the farm outside, and I drink so much on Saturdays to be hydrated. And I know often I'm heavier on Sunday because of it. Like I try as best as I can to eat and drink normally throughout the week, and Saturdays is always a bit of a challenge because we weigh in at like 2 a.m. And no, I'm not always perfect. I'm not always like eating what I need to. I do struggle with that. And I'm working through it. Everything is a process for everyone. And the rate at which you go, it depends on you, and you kind of choose that. It's whatever works for you, I think. But I think just always try your best in everything and do what you can.
Extremely honest and forthright in your assessment and telling us how you deal with this. I'm going to give you a hypothetical question now because this is something that obviously comes up quite often. What would be your ideal scenario with regards to weigh-ins and the other aspects of the policy that we're currently dealing with in the sport? Like, what would you like? What would be the perfect weigh-in window for you? Any other aspects that you would change or do differently?
I think it is important to race at the weight you like naturally are, like and I know it's tough. But I think for me, it would just be really nice if I could step on the scale and they would take my weight and I wouldn't need to see the number. But the thing is, like, yes, on the screen, you would see your watts per kg, but you need to work on that to like block it out, at least for me. But I think that would be helpful for me. I do worry about it a lot. It's tough. I think that's what would work.
Let's shift tracks a little, shall we? You are the reigning Canadian Esports national champion, and we've had Canadian cycling on the podcast as well to talk about cycling and esports. You are the women's champion, Thomas Thrall, obviously wearing the title for the men. How does it feel to have that title, to be able to wear that jersey?
It is fantastic. I don't think you realize how big of an achievement it is, especially since a lot of the stuff, like, really you race in your house and not against like other people in real life, except at the World Championships. It's a huge honor to wear the jersey.
I did indeed put words to the action on the Echelon Racing League that led into those Canadian Championships earlier on this year. The women's field in Canada, I'm going to be quite blunt, it wasn't very deep this year, shall we say. There's not a huge take-up of Canadian women entering the national championships. Including the fact that there were age category races as well as the elite race too. What's your take on the state of cycling esports in Canada right now and where it's going? I mean, I'm really mindful. We talk about everybody going out on the road in the summer, but you've just given us the indicator that it's minus 40 in the winter where you are. So that must be a long winter and a long opportunity for racing. I'm surprised that cycling esports isn't as popular in Canada as it may be elsewhere in the world.
Mm-hmm. So I think the year before for the Canadian National Championships. It was on Zwift, and there was about 8 elite women. And part of the reason I think there was less people this year racing on my whoosh, I think there was only 3 in the elite category, was because it's a new platform to a lot of people. And also a lot of the like premium races take place at 3 a.m. and here. And like that's very difficult, I think. But also, I don't know, like there's definitely a need for more people to be doing esports. And I don't know, I think like cycling is not like in Canada, it's not as popular as in the in Europe. But yeah, it's, I don't know. A lot of people don't really know what cycling esports is here. Like when I first started, my supervisors are like, oh, is that like peloton? So it's just a lot of people don't actually know what it is, I think.
So what sports are extremely popular in Canada for women?
For women, probably hockey. A lot of like outdoor sports, hockey or like soccer, football. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's it.
I just think it's really interesting to see what cycling esports is up against. And, hockey is a very popular sport, actually, right the way around the world. So it's interesting to see from the Canadian perspective where those women are taking those sporting opportunities.
I actually thought you would say curling, Tiffany. Are you a big curler?
I forgot about curling. It's kind of, I don't know. People do it.
It seems like I think I look at curling and I say that's a really good cold weather drinking game.
I think it's I'm not a fan of curling, to be very honest. But
No, come, I have to say, in the Winter Olympics, it's rather addictive actually to watch sometimes. I'm not quite sure how or why. It's like chess on ice, really, isn't it?
yeah.
I feel bad. I'm putting Tiffany on the spot with all these questions, and I'm about to ask her another one. So please forgive me. Since we've had an athlete on the podcast, Zwift has pulled out, canceled all of their elite racing. So I feel like I need to ask you this. Were you surprised to hear that news?
Yes, I was a little bit shocked because I thought after all that they went through with the trainer, the equipment stuff beforehand, like that had been at least resolved a little bit. And I thought this would be like, there's a new season, like we're gonna start announcing things. I thought that's what the email was when I like saw like, oh, Swift emailed. I was like so excited. But yeah, I was pretty disappointed actually, but this is a wonderful opportunity for something new or like some new people to like start a new series. And yeah, I think everything can be made right again. So yeah.
What do you think that it means for the future of cycling esports on Zwift and for the future of the sport as a whole? You know, losing one of the platform that originated the sport, and now we're basically down to just one that hosts elite events.
Yeah, I really liked having like that there's different platforms that hosted the elite events because different platforms bring out different things, different riders, and I really don't know if there is a good outlook for Zwift and elite racing, like for it to progress on Zwift. It seems like at least right now, my whoosh is doing a good job with the elite side of things, and just keeping that going, progressing it. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we will do indeed. Talking about we'll see what happens, Tiffany, where do you see cycling esports heading over the next few years? If you could have your own magic wand and you waved it, what would your personal future look like for the sport? Where would you take it if you were in charge?
Well, I think it would be like fantastic if there was races throughout the year, like a race series. And I think the My Rouge Championships are a wonderful idea, like kind of like a mini tour. I love that idea. Maybe like more mini tours throughout the year, and maybe also like longer races and shorter like mini races, like the tiny races on Zwift. I think there's so much that could be done to like get more riders involved and like more excitement. But I think we just have to like continually keep trying to figure things out and learning from what works and what doesn't work. But I think there's so much ahead.
Well, it's a positive view of the future. So much ahead and lots of opportunity. And do you know what, Tiffany? I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Virtual Velo Podcast. Really insightful. Thank you so much for taking the time to spend it with us. You can subscribe to the Virtual Velo Podcast on your favourite podcast provider and, of course, on YouTube. You can follow me, Emma Martin, at biking_Emma on Instagram. And you can follow Chris at the Zamunique. You can catch me putting words to the action all week this week on the My Rouge Championships and right the way through to Tuesday next week. The My Rouge Sunday Race Club, of course, it's there on the rest day. And I'll tell you something, I am also on bringing you the Mountain Bike Eliminator World Cup from Brazil on Sunday as well. It is an action-packed week in the commentary box. You can head over to thezamunique.com. Please become a member of the Escape Collective as well to join the conversation about cycling esports and support independent cycling journalism. We have more interesting guests from the world of cycling esports joining us, including Training Peaks Virtual founder Dr. George Gilbert, Swedish road race and esports national champion Mika Soderstrom. You can catch her on the My Rouge Championships at the moment, showing us those sprinting skills. Maybe even the UCI cycling esports consultant Jacob Fraser will be joining us shortly as well. A big thank you to Tiffany Penner for helping us give a little personality to her. Always wonderful to hear the story behind the rider. And of course, to you, listener, for listening. Chris will remind you to please take care of your heart. Get a coronary calcium scan should you think you need one. Me, as ever, I'm going to tell you to stay safe and enjoy your riding. We'll see you again soon. Goodbye.